Testing. Stop.
Mike Jack, one, two, Mike Jack.
Yep, yep.
Mike Jack, one, two, Mike Jack. All right, I think I got the video playing, but I can't hear the audio. So
Womp.
yeah, the video playing, but I wanted to play that story for the people that may not have seen it, but it was about the unfortunate death of the 17-year-old that was missing for about 3 days, whose body was found badly decomposed. As you didn't hear on the story, but the reporter said the body was found badly decomposed, and that was his father expressing how he felt about the situation and finding his son's body. But yes, welcome, episode 126, Under the Rug podcast. I have Mofire Johnson.
No fire.
We need to get you a better time. We need to find a better time because that ain't quick. But yes, I wanted, like I said, I wanted to play the actual clip. That was a clip from Eyewitness News, Bahamas. I saw it yesterday and it was really moving, especially as a parent. I couldn't imagine going through what that father went through, finding out his son had passed in the way that he did. And I really wanted you guys to hear, from him. But like I said, unfortunately, the audio wasn't coming through. And I see Stefan is saying to unmute the audio. Well, thanks, Stefan, but we already passing. If you want to see the clip, it's right on the Eyewitness News Facebook page. I'm sure most of you probably either like or follow the page already. So if you want to see the full clip, you can go right to Eyewitness News page and check it out. But like I was describing, it was the father of the 17-year-old boy that was tragically murdered, and apparently by two of his quote unquote friends. That's how they were described in the video by him, meaning the person that was murdered, and by his father. And me and Gio were talking pre-show about we really do throw this friends term around quite loosely. We tend to call people we spend time with or associate with our friends, but like the father said, not everybody is your friends. Not everybody you hang around with are your friends. So you got to be careful with who you hang around with. But what we wanted to focus on today is our culture, and we've talked about this on previous shows, but and whether you like it or not, we have a culture of violence. I consider us to be a violent nation when you look at the way we interact with each other, especially when there's conflict. It usually arises to violence over the simplest things. Where you bump into somebody, you step on a foot, you look at somebody, and they think you're looking at them wrong or looking at them too hard. Or if you're driving on the road and your car come too close to somebody, they won't fight. It's just we always tend to resort to a violent reaction whenever there's some form of conflict, no matter how small it may be. And we just want to discuss that today, why we have this reaction. How do we get here and how do we get beyond it? Gio, your thoughts. You're a fighter by profession.
Yeah.
So some would say some people might consider you a violent person because your whole profession is
Yep.
based off of violence. But
Yes.
what are your thoughts on the way we react when we encounter conflict in this country? Our natural reaction to it.
Uh, man, I wish I had an answer. Like that's something that's always baffled me. Like I said, mainly because um, for me, I see everything as small. Most things I see as
Hmm.
small. As long as you don't put your hands on me, and even if you put your hands on me, like I don't care. All right, because at the end
Hmm.
of the day, I don't know this person as an individual. I trying to make it home. I know this culture, this society. This ain't gonna end with just me beating this person. This person gonna hold
Hmm.
a grudge for the rest of his life towards me. Every time he
Hmm.
see me, he got hard on for me, and I ain't into that. I ain't into looking over my shoulder. But to say
Hmm.
why, I mean, I guess, and we talked about it before our show too. You alluded to it. It's just ego. I think it just comes down to everyone just has a really, really big, frail ego. You know,
Hmm.
and you do anything to disrupt that or disrespect that or make them feel small, they just blow up because they've never seen anyone resolve conflict in any other way except for violence.
Hmm.
That is
Hmm.
the only answer I have for that. Like, could try it because I,
Hmm.
other than that, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I hate
Uh-huh.
fighting.
Uh,
I hate fighting. All right, believe it or
how
not,
you
I
hate fighting and you do it for a living?
no 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 no. What I
that,
do is
that
sport.
don't make sense,
All
Gio.
right. No, 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 no.
Uh-huh.
What I do is sport. It's a competition. We
Uh-huh.
competing in the ring. All right.
Uh-huh.
We trying to see who is the
Uh-huh.
better man. I ain't trying to,
Hmm.
in a sense, defend my life. That ain't what on the line. You know, outside, like
Hmm.
it's a different feeling because there are no rules on the streets. All right. There are no
Hmm.
rules that I don't like. That's violent to me. That is unnecessary.
Hmm.
And most situations can be talked out in words. All right, just like you're
Hmm.
saying, and most of the scuffles, most of the altercations are small, petty, trivial matters. Person bump
Hmm.
into you, they ain't say sorry. You know, you
Hmm.
upset about that. Wait, so what? Let the nigga, whatever. That's a non-issue.
Yeah.
All right. Now if that's
Right.
something that's constantly happening with this one person, and yeah, talk about it. But if you don't know this person, you out. They
Right.
brush past you. Why are you so upset about that?
Hmm.
Like, just go
Hmm.
about your life. Someone step on your shoes.
Hmm.
So what? They're shoes.
Hmm.
They are shoes. Shoes are meant to get
Hmm.
dirty. I don't care how much money you spend on them.
Hmm.
Shoes can get dirty. Clothes can get dirty. Everything can pass. All right, but
Oh yeah.
it don't
Oh
make
yeah.
sense.
Hmm.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Simple car
Hmm.
accident. Car
Hmm.
accident. Fender bender. Yeah, you angry, but
Oh
oh
man.
my goodness, boy, it's just like, boy, accidents happen.
Yes.
You know, accidents happen. I get it. You have insurance,
Yes.
the first
Yes.
time insurance, let the police get involved. Like, don't like the part that hurt me too was the whole situation with MDs.
Hmm.
Remember MDs?
Well,
Uh,
I heard the story about it. I don't know how true it was, but I heard, on the street, you always have, the streets
yes,
recollection of what took
yeah,
place or what transpired. And I heard, it was over going to collect some rent, and then tempers flared up, and then it escalated, and the stabbing took place. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's what exactly what happened, but that's what you're referring to.
yeah. And another thing too is I believe that people over here like they don't see the value of life. You
Hmm.
know, it's their life, and that's it. Everything else is just inconsequential. But at the end
Hmm.
of the day, like how I see it, this person is much. Wait, you could put the person I hate the most in front of me, but all right,
Hmm.
I could care less about this person. Okay,
Hmm.
once they are dead, that's it.
Hmm.
Second chances. Like you only have one life. So why am I going to, as angry as I am, why am I
Hmm.
going to extinguish their life over
Hmm.
a dent in a car, a
Yeah,
broken
something so
glass,
stupid.
a smudge on my shoe? Like
Hmm.
anything you put in front or before on a scale of life, like
Mm.
it's inconstant. It's trivial.
Yes,
Human
very.
life,
Most of the things.
exactly. Human life, my shoes. Human
Yeah.
life, my car.
Uh
Human
huh.
life, my job. Wait, don't like.
But
Ah,
that just goes to show you the disregard we have for other people's lives. Other
yes.
people, we see them as less than our car, less than
Yeah,
our shoes, less than our clothes,
that's
and that
sad.
is a problem. And I've
That's
said
sad.
many times before, and I see Tom is saying now conflict resolution was never taught at home. Actually, the opposite. Violence is taught from when we are born. Parents beat their kids over the pettiest things, and all that is taught is violence is the answer. And me, I've done many shows on this very topic, and I say all the time, we've already established a solid foundation of violence. And through all the conversations I've had, not only on this show, but when I used to do talk shows on national radio, guesting on being a guest on people's shows, because they would bring me because they knew how passionate I was about the whole issue when it comes to beating children and how much I'm against it. And just the pushback and the reaction you would get from Bahamians fighting to continue to beat children and use violence, and they would find all of the most creative ways to try and make it sound like it's not violence. They would call it something else. You know, and Bahamians are famous for using the word discipline
Discipline.
in replacement of the word beat. And they just try to use ways to try to make it acceptable. And in no way, shape, or form is it acceptable in my books. But unfortunately, for the vast majority of our population, it is not only accepted, but it is championed. And so, if you establish a foundation of violence, then you should not be surprised that we have the amount of violence that we have in our country as it pertains to our murder rate, which has been out of control for, decades now. Our domestic violence rate, our rape rate, which is a violent crime.
Yeah.
All of our violent crimes are far too high for this little island nation that we have. And it may not be the only reason, but like I said, I think the foundation of it is because we've established that it is okay to use violence or beat if we feel or deem it justifiable, if it's necessary. If the person did something that we consider to be a beatable offense, then beating them is okay.
Yeah.
And this is what you see in society now. This is why we have these things taking place. And like I say, that's the only example a lot of people have ever seen in their homes, from
Another
parents,
thing-
from
another-
friends. They've only seen violence.
Another thing too is, and I'm pretty sure you guys probably talked about it on the last episode I missed, but like the whole mental health aspect of it too. Like a lot of people,
Mhm.
I don't care what no one say, but I'd say 80% of the Bahamas is traumatized.
I'd probably say higher.
See?
I'd probably go higher.
See? Exactly.
To be honest
All
with
right,
you,
so
I agree.
and when I say traumatized, I mean like deep trauma. No, I mean like
Oh
serious
yeah,
trauma.
oh yeah.
You
I
know?
agree.
And they have never dealt with any of those issues. They have never come face to face with any of those issues. So
Mhm.
I believe that a lot of times these violent occurrences is just that trauma that's never been dealt with coming to the
Yep.
surface. You
Mhm.
know, even this incident now, I was reading a little bit on it, and they were talking about how the 17-year-old pretty much, I think they said, he witnessed his father dying or something like that, or his dad died at a young age. He witnessed, and he was abused or something like that at a young age.
You mean one of the perpetrators
Yes, one of the
or
perpetrators,
accused perpetrators? Uh-huh.
accused perpetrators, and they were talking
Uh-huh.
about how he had this trauma in his childhood. You know, he had problems in his childhood. He witnessed some things in his childhood that no child should ever. And it's just like, well, yeah, like
Mhm.
that scars people, and if it's not dealt with,
Yeah.
which we don't do in our society, because everything is everything is praise your way out of it. Hallelujah, Jesus. Everything, like for real, and that's sad
Yeah,
because
I agree.
like
I agree.
it shouldn't be that way. It's just like, bro, like
No.
if you got issues, you need to be able to see someone. You need to be able to go see someone to have
Right.
those issues dealt with. You
Right.
know?
But like we said with Dr. Palm a couple of episodes, like we stigmatize mental health. Like if we just dismiss people as crazy, and it
No,
has a negative stigma, and so people
that's a
tend to
dismissive
keep
word.
those things. Yeah. What, crazy?
Yeah, but that's very dismissive.
Just to call someone crazy, especially
That's
if you don't
crazy.
know what they're dealing with. You know what I mean? And we just dismiss them, and so people tend to keep those things in, and they don't talk about it. They don't seek help because they don't want that negative feedback from people if they were to
Yep.
express how they truly feel about something, and so they just keep it in, and then who knows, maybe it manifests into like what the situation we're dealing with here, because like you said, that's what he experienced growing up. And like for someone like me, I haven't experienced that extreme degree of violence. I've experienced some violence, domestic violence and stuff in my lifetime and in my childhood, but like to watch people die, watch people get
Yeah.
shot, or watch people get stabbed, or you know what I mean, to watch life be taken away in front of your eyes on a regular basis, We have a lot of people like that is a regular occurrence for them. And so when they see something like that, it's just like another day. But like for someone like me, I'm like what is I don't know how to react to something like that. But
Blood!
it's
Oh
like
my
nothing to
God! Is
them because
that
I'm like
blood? What's going on?
exactly. And it's like because like when I hear the details, because everyone that I spoke to, there was like a new gruesome detail as to how he died. You
Yep.
know what I mean? He was beaten the mouth with a pipe, teeth were knocked out,
Teeth were
stabbed about
missing.
the body, all
Yep.
this stuff. Yeah. So it's like, and I'm thinking to myself, how can a human like
Do this.
physically do this to another human and continue to do it? You know what I mean? Like I
Yep.
can't come to grips with that. But someone else that came up in a different environment,
Yep.
that may be like nothing to them. You know what I mean? And so
It's whatever.
there's that disconnect. I can't relate, but we have many people that come up in those circumstances, and so like something like that to them is like it's like nothing. You know what I mean? They have no reaction to it.
Yep. Scariest thing about that is like, um, one he's 17. He's young. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like just looking at him, like he fits in the crowd. You know what I mean? Like he's a face that would get lost in the crowd. He's not. He has an unassuming presence about him. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Of just looking at the picture. I don't know him. If
Mm-hmm.
I saw him, I wouldn't just be like, "Oh, this guy's a murderer," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that comes across my mind when I'm out and about in altercations. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who this person is. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what they are capable of. I don't know what they are willing to do. I know what I'm willing to do. All right. And
Mm-hmm.
because I know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing to do, I'm not just gonna start a fight with any and everyone. I remember I watched this video. This was stateside. I watched this video. It was two men. Guy was inside it was like a convenience store or whatever, and he was standing. He was standing in the middle of the aisle, not to
Mm-hmm.
the right, not to the left. He was standing in the middle of the aisle. All right,
Mm-hmm.
and a gentleman walked past him, brushed
Right.
his shoulders, whatnot. He grew up. He's like, "Oh, mom," says he said the gentleman apologized, right,
Mm-hmm.
and continued walk, and the guy slapped him and ran outside. All right. He slapped him and ran outside. So of course, the gentleman who apologized, mind you, went after him. He's like, "Mom, what's going on?" And you know what happened?
Mm-hmm.
The
What
guy
happened?
shot him
Which
dead.
one?
The the aggressor, the one who slapped him, the one
The one
who
who
was in the
slapped
rape.
him shot
Yes,
him.
yes. All right. He was looking for that. And if you watch the video,
Yeah.
it'd be like this boy was looking. He was looking to cause harm. And you have people like that in society. You have
And what
people
do you
like that
think
in
leads to
society
that?
too. I don't know.
What? In your opinion, what do you think leads to that?
It's a number of things. I genuinely, I think some people are just
Yeah.
born evil. I think some people are just born evil. Okay, like
Uh huh.
hands down, you have enough. I have enough stories to tell where it's just like, yo,
Mm.
kill them because they are not going to be a contribution to society. No, for real. You know, you have cases like that, and then you have other cases where that behavior it's what's the word? It's cultivated. You know, they grow
Mm.
up in an environment where
Mm.
they don't have any positive role models. The
Mm.
only positive role models are the dudes sitting on the blocks who give them some form of acceptance. All right, it's a community. They feel
Mm-hmm.
accepted by this community. There are people who
Mm-hmm.
looking out for them, whatnot. They feel a part of. That's a family for them. All right, and that
Right.
just continue that just continues to perpetuate itself. And it's just like, well, clearly these the wrong set of people, but they
Mm-hmm.
look out for me. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
we could do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they down for, I down for. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how certain situations come about too. Um, so like I was saying, that's why it's so important to have such uh positive programs in your communities. You know, you need them after school programs because
Yeah.
if Timmy only going home to finish his homework and then sit on the blocks, he might even finish his homework. He might just go sit on the
Yeah.
blocks. But if I
Yeah.
have a
Well, we
basketball program after school, Timmy like
right.
basketball, chance them staying after school, you
Right.
know, higher.
Right.
So if
Right.
the more he at this program, the less he can be on the blocks.
Right. Well, we can get into some of those solutions in a bit, right? But I
Yeah,
see. I want to explore this a little bit more because
yeah.
Tom is saying nobody is born evil. It
Nah,
all
son.
starts from young and the
Nah.
trauma they
No.
experience.
I
Now, let's because
completely
I wanted to
disagree with
when
that,
you said it
son.
right because this has been the whole I guess argument, right? Are people truly born evil? And
Yes.
me, I'm not gonna pretend like I am a psychologist, psychiatrist, whoever deals with the brain and development and all that stuff. I have never studied that. And so I refer or defer to the experts when it comes to those things. And I've spoken to people that have studied these things, right? And I've been told that indeed there are some people that are born with chemical imbalances. This is no choice of their own.
Evil.
Yes, and it's like this, right? And it's so messed up. But it's like a lottery. You do not get to pick your brain when you're born. If you
Nope.
get a good one, then thank goodness. Some people don't always get a good one, right? And so, and he's saying born evil is a cop out. But listen, Tom, hear us out for a second. And what I'll do is, hopefully, one of these times I can bring on a psychologist and they can speak to the actual science of it. Because like I said, I'm not a scientist. I haven't studied this, but I've spoken to those people, and they have said that there are people that have these tendencies just in their brain, no fault of their own. It's just the way their brain was created to have these imbalances to where they lack empathy. We have people that lack empathy. What do you call them? Sociopaths. So
Sociopath.
if we can have people that we've seen and proven that they lack empathy because they are sociopath, we already have a name for them, then it is possible that we have people that are stimulated by things that we consider to be evil, wrong, bad. I just believe that there's a possibility, and psychologists have told me that these people do exist. Your serial killers,
Yep.
those people, they have always been that way from childhood. You got the people that would, like, kill animals, that find it fun to
Yep.
kill animals, children that nobody taught them how to do it. No one
Yes.
showed
I
them
was
how to kill
just
animals.
about to. I was
They
just about to talk about that.
they yeah, and that's why that's like a telltale sign that they use. If you see a child that's violent when it comes to animals, killing animals and stuff like that, that's a sign. You got to bring that child in. The child needs some examination because there may be something wrong there. And so, Tom, I don't think it's a cop out or that everyone is just born good and somehow their circumstances make them evil. Sure, you have people that are born with what we will consider normal or normal brain, and their circumstances may take them in a direction to do evil things. But I do think that there's those people, or there are those people that are born with those unfortunate chemical imbalances in their brain, and they have a tendency to lean towards violence and, like I say, the things we consider bad or evil. Gio,
Story time. Story time. All right. Ready?
story time.
Just and this is the point on one of those examples. I remember years back,
Hmm.
and this is when I was stateside. This is a story. This is actual news. Okay, this made the news. Couple kids. They were elementary school kids, no older than 10.
Hmm.
They weren't even in their teens yet. All right, they may have been the most
Hmm.
like 10 years old. Okay, and these kids, they took another kid and they tied him up and they put him on the train tracks. They watched the train run over him, and then they went home. They went home. All right,
Hmm.
they went home. Those children were never charged because they were minors. That's one. Their names were never released because they were minors. All right, so it's kind
Hmm.
of like, well, here you have a set of 10-year-olds who are already comfortable with killing someone, and you are
Hmm.
going to reintroduce them to society. No, you don't do that. You don't. You put them in a box. You put them in a box and you keep them in a box because if they are no for real,
uh,
because if they are capable of that
yeah.
at this age, they are
Hmm.
capable of that. What are they
Hmm.
gonna do later
Hmm.
on in life? They've already shown you what
Hmm.
they're capable of. They are unmoved by killing someone at this age. Okay, 10 and
Right.
3. All right, they passed the age of innocence, so they know exactly what they were doing.
Mhm.
Okay, So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like that's evil. All right, that's
Mm-hmm.
evil. That's the
Mm-hmm.
evil thing to do. That's
Yeah.
like that's like
Oh yeah.
that's like some Ted Bundy type stuff at 10 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
And I see.
right.
And I. And I. Tom saying, so you're saying we have a country full of people with chemical imbalances? No, Tom. If you were
No.
listening, I clearly stated, clearly, that speaking to the professionals that study the brain, psychology, all this stuff, there is a small percentage of people that this is just the way they are wired. Small percentage, not full of. And I also acknowledge that we have people with not what we would consider to be normal brains, but their circumstances, the way they grew up, the people they grew up around, what happened to them, the trauma they may have experienced, took them in a direction to where they have led a life of crime or evil things, evil deeds, doing bad things. So no, we're not saying we have a country full of people with chemical imbalances. What I was merely doing was acknowledging the existence of that small percentage that may be wired or more inclined to do these things because that's just the way they were wired. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And yes, and exactly what you're talking about are not the norm. And I clearly said it's not the norm, it's a small percentage. It's not everybody. But the ones we were referring to are the people who we would consider to have normal brains or be normal, but their circumstances lead
Just
them
took them.
into this
Yep.
direction. And we have a lot of people that come up in those environments. Unfortunately, we have a lot of violent households and a lot of violent circumstances people are being brought up in, which is leading to our high numbers in our violent crime, which is the problem,
Extremely high.
and which is what we're going to. Yes, very high, like way too high for a population this small. We shouldn't have these cases, and we're
Jesus,
just
holy.
trying to have a conversation and explore why we are this way, how we got this way, and we're going to finish with how we can begin to change that. You know what I mean? We're trying to come up with
And
solutions here. And he said,
like,
okay, go ahead, Joe.
what has baffled me is like I know children to fight. I know children to act out in anger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
they're children. They compulsive. Children are very compulsive. They will act out on how they feel. But it's a certain
Mm-hmm.
point you reach. It's just like, well, there are different ways to go about certain things. So when I see that behavior in
Mm-hmm.
adults, I'm like, well, this person clearly missed out on some key development. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
to skip straight from any type of conversation or dialogue about the problem at hand, straight to I can tear your head off. That's
Yes.
childish. That's super
Oh,
childish and
yes.
immature to me.
But
You know?
we have a lot of Bahamians that have never grown up, that have never matured, that have never developed
Yep.
that sense of reason
Just a
to
bunch of
be
big
able
kids.
to have these conversations. A bunch of big kids, and a lot of times, what I've said before too, right, is I believe it's because it's a lot of frustration. Because when you are beaten as a child, right, and you can't do nothing about it, all
Yep.
you can do is take this beating, take this beating, take this beating, take this beating. And so when you now finally adult and you're able to do something, that's the
Oh, I
first
can
thing you
lash
go
out.
to, because this is now, yes, your entire childhood of being beaten on and not being able to do anything about it, your first opportunity, you react in that way
Yeah,
because
that's
it's
true.
the first chance you get to do it back to somebody else. You know what
I
I
can see
mean?
that.
You've been beaten on your whole life and couldn't do anything about it. And I think for a lot of people, that's the case. Why they so quick to resort to that? Because you know what it is to take beating all the time growing up. Just get beat, get beat, get beat, get beat. You can't do nothing about it. You can never react. You just have to suck it up, cry, and then wait till the next beating. That's
Like,
over decades, but maybe not. Well, close to 2 decades, because you're a child. But for the first 10 years, you're getting beat up on your life. Some people get beat until they damn 18, to tell you the truth. So you're looking at least 10 to 18 years of beating and violence and getting cussed out, getting slapped, getting talked to bad.
yep.
You know what I could do to a human being after over time? Like, of course you're gonna react in a violent way, and I think that's why we have that instant reaction.
Another thing too is what people don't understand is uh just how there are people that are born with those chemical imbalances and they are just born sociopaths pretty much. There are people through their trauma become sociopaths because
That's true.
trauma does change your brain. All right.
Hmm.
Trauma
Great point.
trauma changes your brain. Changes electrical
Yeah.
signals in your, like, you just become wired different because of trauma. So it's possible for you to
Right.
become a sociopath based upon those traumatic experiences. People just become numb, they get turned
Great
off,
point.
they switch off. So that's another thing too.
Yep.
So your whole childhood, you were freaking, who was a nice kid? Let's say you were the what's the name? The Raven Simone of children. All right, when she was a little baby. Okay, right. So and then
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden you
Uh,
absorbing all of this trauma for how many ever years, and then you're supposed to be the same person when you 18, you leave out. No, no, you could be
mm,
damaged.
mm-hmm,
You're gonna be very damaged, and if you
mm-hmm,
never seek, like, tell people, you never seek counseling for these issues, if you never face these issues, buddy, you're lucky
mm-hmm,
fuck. I can tell you right now,
mm-hmm,
certain issues I've been dealing with my whole life, and they scar me. All right, and I still dealing with them.
mm-hmm.
I just happy
Yep.
they ain't on the
Yep.
level of I just happy that I've never had the trauma other people have had. But the little things that
Right.
I've had experiences with, they've changed me. So if I can
Mm-hmm,
only imagine, like, living in like a city like Chicago, you know,
mm-hmm,
shy
mm-hmm.
town, and we have
What you
built past. That's what I saying. Over here,
you live in Nassau?
we have segments of that over here. Like the corner I was going, like I
Shit.
remember growing up to the corner, what it was, Harlem, growing up to Harlem. By the 8 years I was over here to that corner, by
Mm-hmm,
yeah, buddy,
mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm,
buddy. Even the little places, even the ghettos I was growing up when I was in the States, yeah,
mm-hmm,
buddy. Woo.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Those
Yep.
fireworks?
And
No,
it's
those are not fireworks. Those are definitely not fireworks.
gunshots, gunshots, and it's like, and especially with our young men, like we spoke about the fragile ego earlier. It's like it's always there's something to prove. Like I have to prove that I is a bad boy, a bad man. It's like we tend to seek respect
Yep.
through violence.
Because
We want to
we
be
attribute
respected so bad.
we want to be
Go ahead.
fair.
Right,
That's what it is. It's people, like,
right.
people rather you be afraid of them than respect. Which is weird. I rather you
But
respect
see,
me than be afraid of
but
me.
see, but
But
the thing is, respect is, and this the great 50 Cent said, respect comes in two ways, from admiration or fear. So fear is a form of respect. Like if you see a lion, you have a respect for that lion because you have fear for that lion and what it could do to you. Now it's a different kind of respect, but
yeah,
it's a version of respect. But we tend, and it's not just young men, and we've spoken about this before. It's just we tend to seek respect through fear, and you see it even in the leadership. You know what I mean? From parenting, from politics, straight down, we tend to seek respect through fear, and that's the worst kind of respect you could get, in my opinion, when it comes to another person, because they'll only respect you as long as they fear you. Now, when
exactly.
they no longer fear you,
Oh, luck
it's a
buck.
different ball game. However, if you get respect through admiration, that person respects you because they are so fond of you. And so they're going to want to be nicer to you, do things for you because they have such admiration for you. They want to do things for you as opposed to feeling like they have to do it because
Yeah,
they scared of you. And I don't know why a lot of people haven't gotten that. Listen, the way you want people to respect you is through admiration because they're going to want to do things for you as opposed to
they
feeling like
want
they
to be
have to
around
do it
you.
and only feel like they have to do it. Yeah, and only feel like they have to do it when there's a direct consequence. And like I say, if they don't pay you no more, then what? What are you going to do then? What's
All
the backup?
respect gone.
What are you
All
going to do
respect gone
next?
after that.
Yeah, yeah. And so like that's the worst. That's the worst way, in my opinion, to gain respect is through fear. Admiration is always the best, and that's why even when it comes to parenting with my kids, I try to gain respect through admiration as opposed to fear. I want to have a good time with my kids. I want them to look up to me and admire me so much that they follow what I say because they want to, because they like me and they don't want to let me down or disappoint me. they then go ahead and do what I asked of them, as opposed to, oh, I can kill you, I can tear your head off, I can do this to you if you don't do this. You know what I mean? Because that didn't work for me. I tell people all the time. I told plenty beating and get plenty rowing and cuss out when I was growing up a child. It didn't work. For someone of my rebellious nature, I would still find some way to do it. And all that leads you to do is find ways to not get caught.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna cost you necessarily not do something. Depending on how bad you want to do something, you're gonna do it, but just find ways to not get caught. You're gonna try and figure out clever ways to not get caught doing it,
Agreed.
as opposed to not doing it. You know what I
Agreed.
mean? And that's how I
But
was. Even though I get
yeah,
catch plenty.
a lot of us are like, I mean, like I never get beaten. I get beaten, mind you. I get beaten, but I never used to get beaten like that. I was a pretty good kid. I was a pretty good kid. But anyways, back on track. Um, it's just, in all honesty, I really do believe that there's such high level of violence just because it's just due to a lack of conflict resolution. We don't know
Yeah.
how to work our way
Yep.
through, hard
Yeah.
conversations. We don't know how to
Yeah.
talk our way through. No one ever wants to take the time to be like, hey, look, like I didn't like the way you spoke to me, or I didn't like the way that you
Right.
did this thing, or this and that, blah. Why? Because no one want to be seen as soft. They just want, oh, I'm on auction. I ain't gonna let no one disrespect me, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I see it as the highest form of like in
Yeah.
man, because at that point you just trying to impress niggas.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. You just like in man, because
I agree.
it's really all
Yeah.
it just
I want
boils
you to
down
stop it.
to you don't want people to see you a certain type of way. It ain't even about how you see yourself at that point. You don't want no one. You don't want other
Right.
people to see you as soft. You don't want other people to see you as weak. When at the end of the day, you probably, you
Right.
know what I mean? Like, someone step on my shoe, I don't care. Someone bump into me, I don't care.
Yeah.
Same person bump into me more than once,
Yeah.
kind of like, hey, buddy, you know what's going on? Everything cool? You have a
Yeah.
problem? Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if it's like a one-off thing, it's kind of like, it's a stranger.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
Partner, you want
Yeah. And
to,
it's low. That's a low self-esteem thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's true.
It's a low. When I know it's when you have a higher sense of self-esteem. You don't. Those things don't bother you as much. You don't care. You know what I mean? And a lot of people have low self-esteem. Go ahead. You going to say something?
That's a very good point,
Hmm.
because when you brought that up, it's kind of like, well, a lot of people don't really value themselves over here.
No.
They don't have a lot of self.
No.
A lot of Bahamians don't have a lot of self value, and
No.
that itself, like, boy, that's another topic.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah. Because
Because
if you don't value yourself, can you
you definitely
imagine
don't value.
how
You
you
don't
would
value no
feel
one
to
else,
other people? Exactly.
boy.
Exactly. So if you don't value yourself, you damn sure ain't gonna value other people. You know what I
Right?
mean? And let me put Tom comment up here. But that's a big issue. And like you say, you could do a whole another show on that when it comes to self value, self worth,
Right.
self esteem. And again, I think it comes back from our upbringing. You know what I mean? A lot
Yeah.
of if you hear
Yeah.
the things a lot of parents say to their children, it's no wonder they have low self esteem. You know what I mean? Because they, like I said, they curse their children. I tell them you ain't gonna never be nothing.
I
You're,
can't
you're too
stand that.
stupid. You're too
I
dumb.
I so
And it's
hate
like,
being out an errand. Parents, especially mothers, especially
mm-hmm,
mothers, cursing at their
mm-hmm,
children. But I can't stand
mm-hmm,
it. I just be like, miss.
mm-hmm.
Who you talking to though?
You
Like,
better be careful.
why are you?
They might want to
No,
tear
no,
your
no.
head
That
off.
that's the internal conversation I have. That's the internal
Oh,
conversation I
okay,
have.
okay.
All
I
right.
thought you walk up to them and say that.
Oh
All
no.
right.
Oh no. Because like in
Mm.
my head, it's kind of like, boy,
Uh,
I wouldn't talk to an adult like this. I wouldn't talk to an adult like this.
right.
Okay? Why would you talk to this
Mm-hmm,
child like this? This child is new to life, didn't ask to be here. All
mm-hmm,
right? Probably is here because
mm-hmm.
you were too lazy to make him wear a condom, or he didn't feel like wearing a condom. You let this nigga puke
Yeah,
inside
that's
you.
you.
You
That's
know,
your irresponsibility.
that's your
You want juice. You want
responsibility.
raw dog
All
and
right,
do all these things to be
exactly.
mad at the child.
This this
Yeah,
this child
that's my
this
problem.
child is a
Yeah.
product of, your poor decisions, whatnot. But at the same time, it's not their fault. That's your fault. All right.
Right.
So for you to take
Right.
your aggression, your pain, and your whatever out on this child, that's selfish. That's selfish, and that's immature. Grow up. Grow
Mm-hmm.
up.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
so unfair. I
And the
hate
thing
that.
is, the sad part is they. Yeah, me too. I can't stand it. And the sad part is, in a lot of cases, it probably happened to them. They probably grew up with them, mother or father cussing them out, talking to them stink. And so again, just like the violent kids that grew up in a violent environment, that's what you're supposed to do. That's normal. That's a normal part of life. If your child do something you deem inappropriate or ain't supposed to do, you curse them out and you talk to them bad because that's
My
what happened
mommy
to
do
them.
this to me,
It's just like a never ending cycle.
but it's so
Yeah, it's like a never ending cycle, and it's
for me, it's kind of like, how should I put it?
mhm,
Well, when you were growing up, you didn't like when your parents did certain things to you. You understand? And you
mhm,
knew when your parents were
mhm,
being unjust with you. Yeah, you couldn't have done anything
mhm,
about it because you in a position, they in a position of power and you're not, and they have to say. But at the same time, like,
mhm,
I never in my life thought, as 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 shabby as some of those situations were, I never thought that, oh well, I'm gonna have a kid, and when I have a kid, I'm gonna do those things that my parents did to me that I didn't like. What? You like, that's what,
mhm.
like,
Yeah,
how, that's weird to me.
yeah,
That's weird because you
doesn't
didn't
make
like it.
sense.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
but
make
that
sense. You didn't like it, so why
right.
are
But
you gonna do it to someone else
mhm. Well,
in
it's
good conscience, mind you?
what I had to come to realize. Yeah, what I come to realize is, you know, not all of us are the same. We are in the minority. It was us that look at it that way, and most people because most people just tend to be products of their environment. Whatever the environment they come up in, more than likely that is going to be the path that they're going to follow. And you have some weirdos like us that even though we came up in a certain environment, we question things, we analyze things, we look at it differently, and then we say, you know what, this don't make sense. So I'm going to take a different approach. But unfortunately, that's not the majority of society.
Yeah,
They
this is true.
some people feel like that is the normal, and this is what you're supposed to do. This is the way and you hear it all the time when I have discussions about beating your children. It's like, hey, I get beat. Ain't nothing happened to me. I turn out fine. It's like
No, you
this
did
is the
not.
way this happened to me, so it must have been okay. Yeah, exactly. And I would challenge whether or not you turned out okay. But the whole point is, some people see it as, listen, this is what happened to me, so this must be the way it's supposed to happen. Unfortunately, most people don't tend to challenge or question or look at differently the way they were brought up, the things that happened to them growing up. They don't tend to challenge it, and they just continue to carry that on throughout their lives, and then they pass it on to their children. And that's the
Yeah,
unfortunate part of this, because it then ends up continuing on like we see now. Like it doesn't seem to change. We need more people to look at it differently and change the ways. We have to break this cycle, because we're going to continue to have situations like this. And I like I said, we've done shows like this every time a student stabs another student in school and kill them. I remember we did a whole show on the unfortunate stabbing of, I think it's Adonai, that went to Doris Johnson, that was stabbed right there in the streets. Prince Charles, boy, had a big butcher knife, stab him up in the streets, kill him dead right there. And then there's another stab in another school, I think, in Oakville. Like this, it's just going to continue to happen. It just like seems to never end. You know what I mean? And this is going to continue unless we can find ways to break this cycle. We have to change the way we look at ourselves, especially as young men. We have to change their perception of what respect is, or how you should be respected, how you should carry yourself, how you should feel about yourself, because clearly they think it's through violence or some nefarious activity. That's why,
yeah,
growing up, who the guys used to look up to when I was growing up, who it is? The big time drug dealers and stuff, the gangsters, the violent dudes. These were their role models. And like you said earlier, we lack those positive role models for these
Yep.
guys to look up to and say, you know what, that's what I want to be like. And so
Yep.
we need more of those positive role models to show, listen, you ain't gotta be a gangster, you ain't gotta be a drug dealer, you ain't gotta be a killer. You know what I mean? Go ahead. You want to say something?
I remember what it was. I had watched, and I was bad because, like, one, I was a sheltered child, so a lot of things that people watched and listened to in their youth, I'd listened to and watched in my adulthood. So it was a movie. Everyone's talking about this movie. You remember Scarface, right? I sure you watched Scarface. Al Pacino, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
All right, I
Yeah,
hate
yeah,
that
yeah.
movie. I hate that movie. I
Mm-hmm.
can't stand that movie. I hated them.
Yeah.
No, for real though, cause like
It's pretty
watching
bad.
this movie, I was watching this
Yeah.
movie, and everyone hub Al Pacino in this movie is this big time like role model. I sitting there, it's like, what? This the dude y'all want to be like for real, for
Especially
real? I was like,
especially in hip hop. Especially in rap.
exactly.
But
I was
go
like,
ahead.
this dude killed his best friend. All right,
Mm-hmm.
was responsible for the murder of his sister, the death of his
Mm-hmm.
sister, and he had no control over his
Mm-hmm.
life. He was impulsive. All right, so it's kind of like, bro, like that's what y'all wanted. That's what y'all look. Yeah, but you gotta be like Scarface. Scarface was go get it. This and that. I was like, no, the nigga was a freaking drug head. Like he was a criminal. You don't
Mm-hmm.
aspire to be like criminals.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this dude was
Mm-hmm.
selfish. He didn't care about no one else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he literally killed his best friend. So the whole time I watched the
Mm-hmm.
movie, I'm just like, this movie's trash. He's a trash person.
Yeah.
Why would you want to?
Yeah.
Why would you hold this? Why of all the fictional characters you could put up on a pedestal and be like, yeah, I could just be like this person. Why would you want to be like this person? And
Mm-hmm.
especially over here, it's just like, yo, what? Nobody trying to be
Yeah.
like Bill
Yeah.
Gates. I trying to be like Will
Yeah.
Smith or something.
Yeah. And it's like I say all the time, and people don't like to hear it, especially black people or people that are fans of rap music, hip hop music. Now me, I spent a lot of time in the rap industry as a music producer, been through it, used to record, rappers do all that stuff, right? But and like I say, they don't like to hear it. But one of the most dangerous aspects have been the lyrical content in rap music
Oh,
coming always been extremely violent, it's always been extremely misogynistic, it's always been just detrimental to what we or detrimental to our society and what we consider, to be the people that we want to emulate in society. And
yeah,
a lot of those guys who we spoke about before that came up in those unfortunate environments, a lot of those people, they don't have no good family structure. They don't have no fathers around. They don't have that guidance, to keep them on a positive path. And so when they see these rappers who have on the big chains, they can because they got the shiny stuff that they want. They got the big chains, they got the cars, they got the money. People like them. You know what I mean? They get all this praise, and so they're like, "That's who I want to be." What do you say? Slap a nigga, shoot a nigga in the head, kick him in the chest, stab him in the face. All that, that's what he say do. Oh, I got to do that stuff because that's what he is do. You know what I mean? And those lyrics mean something else to those kids and those
yeah,
environments because I used to hear one of my boys say all the time, well, I just listen to rap all the time, and I never want to be no gangster. I never want to sell drugs. I never want to do. I say, and I always say like, yes, I get that because me too. I grew up on rap music. I used to listen to all of it. Biggie, Tupac, Born Thugs and Harmony, DMX, a whole rough. I grew up on all of that stuff. Eminem, and even and even to this day still listen to it. I grew up, so I understand your love and your passion for that music because it sounds good, and because it doesn't affect or impact you in that way doesn't mean that it's the same for other people. Now
yep,
see, you came up in a structured home. You have both of your parents, you have good examples, you have good role
yep,
models, and so you can make that separation and say, well, this is just entertainment, it sounds good, I'll enjoy it. But to someone else that doesn't have the family structure that you have, and this is the only positive role model that they have, they believe that this is the kind of life that they have to live. That's why we see all these dudes in these WhatsApp videos showing off their guns, and or if they have drugs, they showing their drugs off and all of that stuff. Where do you think it
counting their
comes from?
money.
In the rap, yeah, counting the money, float, throwing the money all over the place, showing money. It's the rap videos have said, listen, this is what you have to do or what you have to look like to show that you have made it. and so they model themselves after those things, and it has been very detrimental. Now, hip hop music, rap music has saved a lot of people, meaning a lot of people have made money. They have improved their family circumstances. They have gotten out of the hood and done a lot of things. 50 Cent, Jay Z, all these guys came out of these environments and created wealth for a lot of people. But you have to pay attention to the unintended consequences of that as well. You know what I mean? Now, yeah, they were just rapping about what they experienced, but it comes off as glorification to a lot of people, and a
Hmm.
lot of people that come up in certain environments hear that, see that, and they take that and run with it and believe that this is what I'm supposed to look like. This is how I'm supposed to carry myself. This is how I get respect. This is how I get girls. This is how I get money. This is how I get cars. You understand? And like I said, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like that culture. That's just my opinion on it because I see how it can impact others. Even though it didn't impact me that way, I'm not going to be naive and say, well, I don't. It didn't do me like that, so it ain't gonna do nobody else like that. No, I ain't be that naive person.
Yep.
It has an impact,
Agreed.
and so
Agreed.
we have to be careful with messages that we put out and how we represent ourselves in society. And like I said, and it's been historically quite violent. And so people take that and they believe if somebody do something to you, you got to pull your gun on them, or you got to slap them, or you got to show them that you don't play. You know what I mean? And that's why we have these reactions. At
Oh
least a
man.
part of it too.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Unfortunately.
I agree. I agree.
Uh huh.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's just
I don't know what
and the
music you
thing
grew
is,
up on. You know.
me. Oh, I believe it. I was the complete opposite. I grew up on old heavy rock and roll, buddy. Let you know now. So I
Oh.
started listening to Biggie and Bark in my Tupac in my 20s. I was listening to all
Uh, oh
Korn
yeah, you
and
start.
Slipknot and Metallica.
Oh
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Woo, woo. Nothing but guitar riffs, electric
Oh,
guitar,
jeez. Yeah.
baby. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
no, that wasn't my stuff. So I get it. So I could relate because like I said, I came up on hip hop, so I could relate. You know, I love it too, but I also understand how it can negatively impact
oh
what
yeah,
people feel. You know,
that's music on the
it's
whole,
how they're
man.
supposed to represent themselves. Yeah,
I ain't
yeah,
getting on it. Be
yeah.
careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you
Mhm,
hear. Yeah, that's a very relevant song because at the end of the day,
mhm.
like how should I put it? And you see it. I ain't gonna just say, oh well, it's just rock music because, boy, I can let you know right
No, it's
now,
not. No.
rock music got some
Oh
very.
yeah. Oh, I know.
I
But see,
I even
I just speaking from my experience because I never
exactly
used to listen to
bing
rock. I grew up
exactly.
on rap, so I could speak for rap. You know.
All right, so I get there now, but I get. Whoo, they got some songs out there. They got some rock songs out there. Jeez, soul, man, they worse than rap, like worse than rap.
I'm sure.
And
I'm
the
sure.
reason why I say it's worse than rap is because
Mhm,
the message is like gratuitous violence. You know what I mean? Like rap is kind
mhm,
of like, oh well, this dude disrespect me, I kill him. Oh, I selling drugs, whatnot.
mhm,
These dudes talking about killing their family and their sleep and it's stuff like that's like what? That's like
mhm.
some white people violence right there. You know,
Sure.
they're over the top. They're like it's very over the top. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, like it just
Uh-huh.
like you say, it just comes from the different influences that people allow in their lives. Not only that,
Mm,
it comes from like you said, I wasn't in a position where I didn't have a solid family structure. I had a very nuclear family. I had both parents home. They had the issues, but they were there. They were supportive for the
right.
most part. All right.
Right.
Um, but you don't always have that. You have people who grow up in
Right.
single parent homes or
Mhm.
no parents at all. And
Right.
when they look at this music, when they look at these videos, these movies, this music, all right, this sends a
Mhm.
different message to them. They get a completely different message from that than we would from it.
Mhm.
All right, we like you said, we see it as
Right.
entertainment. They see it as the answer. All right, because these people
Mhm.
they look up to. Um,
Right.
so which goes back to like one, finding solutions to the problem for this problem would be two, right? Just have more positive influences in the
Yeah.
community. All right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't care what no one's yes, it starts at home, but at the same time, it doesn't only have to be at home. It would be great
Mhm.
if every family had both parents, had loving
Right.
parents. All right, that's not
Right.
gonna happen. Sometimes you
Right.
need that. Sometimes you need that teacher that You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
just there. You need that guidance counselor. You need that coach. You need, that athlete that stops by and says, "Hey, I gotta build a program for the school. I see some talent." You need those people that's gonna steer you in a different direction. When you won't go home, when they
Mm-hmm.
won't go home and go sit on the blocks, they saying, "Hey, man, you what, 6'2"? Boy, I sure you'd
Mm-hmm.
make a killing on the court. Come shoot some ball. Let's see what you got. All right.
Right.
Or you little fast. Or man, come. Let's go play soccer for a bit. Play baseball. Get you introduced in sports. And it don't even have to be just sports. It could be chess. It could be, puzzles. It could be anything. Anything other than just sitting on the blocks. Anything other
Mm-hmm.
than going home. Because a lot of kids, like, people don't understand. A lot of kids go home to nothing. All right.
Yes.
They go
Yes.
home to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure if you provide them, and that's the thing, because they go home to nothing, they will cling
Mm-hmm.
on to anything.
Oh yeah.
All
Oh
right.
yeah.
So it's just about giving them the right things to cling on to. All right.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
it comes
Most
down to.
definitely.
They playing out in the streets. You looking at the basketball rim. They got the little square crate. They shooting. You know,
Mm-hmm.
playing
Mm-hmm.
some of these parks. I hate seeing the parks in the Bahamas
That's how.
because
That's how
growing
Buddy
up.
Buddy Hill grew up playing on the great in the backyard.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA.
Yep. But taking that into
Mm-hmm.
consideration, like I don't want to be like, oh well, that should be the norm because he made it. Oh well,
Right.
buddy,
Right.
he make it's not because I hate when
He's the
people do that.
exception, right? He's the exception.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the
Exactly.
exception.
I
Yeah.
hate when people are like, oh well,
Right.
buddy, he'll make it on. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but just imagine how much further he would have
Yeah.
made it if he had an
Right. Or
adequate.
how much more, how many more we could have made it if we had the
Exactly.
right, facilities, the
Exactly.
right programs for them to get involved and stuff like that early on. You know what
Frank,
I mean?
the park,
So
the
yeah,
park by me. You know the park by me, right?
yeah.
All right. So they
Hmm.
just cut the grass. They just cut the
Wow.
grass. The grass was like, I kid you not, the grass had grown to be about my height. I could have walked around inside there and you wouldn't have seen me. That's how tall the grass was. All right. And it's kind of
Wow.
like, hey, you have
Nigga,
a
that ain't
park.
grass.
That's bamboo. All right.
That's bush.
So,
That's a
yeah,
forest. Ain't
exactly.
grass.
So you have these parks. These parks are recreational areas for kids to come in. They play ball. They go have fun. Keep them clean.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
police them. Make sure anyone selling drugs on the park. You know,
Hmm.
that's what you need to. That's
Hmm.
because that's what the park is. The park's supposed to be an escape. The park's supposed
Yeah.
to be, where kids go and they uh cultivate their imagination. Pretty much
Hmm.
cultivate
Hmm.
their what they passionate about. You
Yeah,
know.
and have social interactions. You know what I mean? Learn
Yeah.
to play with other kids and
So
interact
seriously,
and
like
get along. But
that's one thing I
yeah.
hated about coming home versus stateside. The
Hmm.
parks in the states are
Hmm.
parks. I mean, like
Hmm.
they are parks.
Hmm.
Like I
Hmm.
remember the park down the road when I was in Fort Lauderdale. Like this thing had one, two, three, four basketball courts. All right,
Hmm.
four basketball courts. It had a baseball field and it had a playground, like a sand trap playground. Okay. On
Hmm.
top of that, it had ample field for other people to go have picnics and stuff on. That's a park.
Oh.
Okay.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
they were much like the new park that was built on Blue Hill Road, close to Super Value, but close to before you get
Hmm.
to, I think that's NIB.
Oh yeah,
Before you,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
NIB,
a
yeah,
nice
yeah.
that's a nice park.
Yes,
That's a nice park.
but it's not.
That's
It's not. The funny part is it ain't in use. But that's a whole another story. I don't know why, but But I know what you mean, and we need more of those, and we need more programs, and we most of all we need to change this mindset that we have. Man. This that violence is the way, especially when it comes to raising our kids. I've
yep.
been fighting, and I'll continue to fight until the day I die to abolish this mentality that
Mhm.
you need to use physical violence against
Yep.
children in order to raise them with appropriate discipline. Because
Agreed.
I believe while it's not the only factor, in my belief, in my humble opinion, I think it's the uh, biggest factor to why we see so much violence in our society and why we suck at conflict resolution. Because if your parents cannot even resolve a conflict with a child, then we have a problem. You
Yeah.
understand? That is a foundational issue we have to deal with. And so, and I've always been saying we need like we teach a lot of unnecessary things in school, in my opinion. And one of the things I always will fight for too is to have conflict resolution in class in school
Yeah.
as mandatory, because like I said, not every household is ideal, not every household has both parents, not every household has positive influences, but most children go to school, and so if they can get it every day in school, then perhaps it will stick with a lot of people. And so I believe conflict resolution needs to be in schools. We need to teach people how to deal with issues. Any circumstance, you could come up with all kind of circumstances where you encounter conflict, and we teach people appropriate ways to deal with those situations so that it doesn't have to end in violence.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the a major solution that can do a whole lot, that would make us a whole lot better as a nation when it comes to resolving conflicts.
I believe
And
that.
again,
Go on.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right. Another thing I've noticed that helps too is competition. All right. Like
Mm,
competition really helps with
mhm.
uh conflict. Why? Because you ain't always gonna win. You're not always gonna win, and you're gonna be
Right,
faced with having to take a loss, and
right,
it's not gonna
right.
feel good. It's not gonna
No.
feel good, but you have no choice but to suck that up and deal with it, and you
Hmm.
use that to fuel you. You know, you
Hmm.
put that in, you put that effort into that feeling into becoming better. So
Hmm.
like when you see competitive sports like boxing, wrestling, basketball, soccer, stuff like that, like I feel as though that's another, and on top of that, it's a stress reliever.
Mm.
You know, it's a way for children to vent in a healthy manner. You know, adults too, mind you, because face it,
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
plenty of adults. We got plenty of adults too. But I feel as though the more avenues you have to, that's what's the word, let go of some of the things you're
Hmm.
holding on to, the better.
Hmm.
All right,
Yeah,
like some of
yeah.
the stress loss be like, oh well, you go in there and you beat the bikes. A lot of people just want to hit stuff, you know, which is why
Mm.
I
Hmm.
like what I do. Like the kickboxing
Right,
sessions, they just want to hit stuff because sometimes they're angry
right,
and they want to get that
right,
out. And that's good.
right,
That's
right,
that's a healthy way, you
right,
know, to get that anger out. You come, it's like, well, I need to work this stress off. Come hit some mitts. Yeah,
right,
come hit the mitts. You know.
right,
And on top of that, I
right,
provide. I'm there. Talk to me. What's going on? You know what's going on. I do my
right.
best to do it with my clients. It's like sometimes you just need to vent. You need to
Hmm.
vent. Get that off your chest. Some people just
Yeah,
dying on the inside, just
right, right.
mossy and mildewy from holding up so much years. It just hurt on trauma
Yep,
on the inside. They're just rotten on the inside.
yep, yep. Great point. And like I said, that's a great stress reliever or a way to get out aggression, because we all, nobody is gonna go through every day of their lives without being upset, without being angry, without needing to vent and all of that stuff. So there are healthy ways, like you just described. There are healthy ways to get rid of whatever aggression you may have built up, and we need to explore those more, or else we just can continue with the same old song
Yep.
and dance. A child gets stabbed up here, a person gets shot there, this person died, this domestic violence case here, this rape case here. We just gonna continue to go down this if we don't begin to address these things with the things we've already mentioned. And so, people, I just encourage you. Listen, it ain't that serious. Life is very precious, and you only get one of these. As
Yep.
far as I know, you only get one. Now, some people may believe in reincarnation in some effect. I don't know nobody who was here before and had another chance, and so I live as though this is the only life I have. I'm going to cherish it. I'm going to appreciate it. And I'm not going to allow simple, small things to potentially cause me to lose my life just because I feel like I got to show you I don't play. So start to think. Don't just react because of your emotion. A lot of worst decisions we make are when we are in a highly emotional state. Take a step back, take a breath, calm down. Most situations, if not all, can be talked out and resolved through conversation as opposed to violence. And so we need to start to take this approach more. And I believe it'll help. Like I said, we need it in schools because not everyone can get it from a household. So we need to start to incorporate these things because it's a great country. I believe we good people, most of us, deep down, we all good, positive people that just want to enjoy life. And we don't want simple interactions to potentially end our lives, especially those that have children and have so much to live for. So
Agreed. Agreed.
let's just begin to, if you're not already doing it, let's start to take a step back and be more, be an adult about these things and talk these things up, because a simple conversation could end these crazy conflicts we come into uh, contact with on a daily basis. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Tom says we need to change our child abuse laws. I agree, Tom. I agree, and I believe that beating your children should be a law, but that you should be punished for, and that should be considered child abuse. A lot of people disagree with me, but I don't care. That's how I feel, and that's the way it should be moving forward. But thank you guys so much. Please go ahead and what Bishop name? What the singing Bishop name? Lawrence Roll.
Oh
Like
Lord.
Lawrence Roll say. Like Lawrence Roll say. Share it.
Share it.
Share it.
Share it.
Share it. Please go ahead and share the videos, people. Please go ahead and share this video. That don't cost you nothing. It don't take you a lot of time. We need to get this conversation out there to begin to change the mindsets of many people in this country. So please go ahead, share it, and until next time. Now I don't know, boy, the country open back up, people. I can be busy again. I may go back and disappear again. So if you don't see me next week, I don't know. You may or you may not. Just putting you on notice now. I could be a little busy now, so I can try, but I ain't a guarantee that you might see us next week. But we can see what happened, depending on how things go. You may or may not see us. But in the meantime, once again, share the video, like the video, tag somebody who you're always sharing foolishness all the time. So please go ahead and share some positivity. Tag someone in some positivity. And until the next time, peace.